Correct.
They should. Okay, here we go. We may not decree a community fast on Rosh Chodesh, Hanukkah, or Purim. However, if they had already commenced a series of fasts, they may not interrupt it. This is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Meir says, although Rabbi Gamliel said they may not interrupt the series, he agrees that they should not complete the fast. This is true of, the same is true of Tisha B'Av, which falls on the eve of Shabbos. The order of the fast mentioned above applies only if the first rain was withheld. However, if plants change abnormally, we sound the shofar at once because of them. Similarly, if rains were interrupted between one rain and the next for 40 days, we sound the shofar at once because this represents a calamity of food shortage. If suitable rain fell for crops but did not fall for trees, or for trees but did not fall for crops, for both but not for filling of water holes, ditches, and caves, we sound the shofar at once.
Okay. So also among the list of calamities that can occur that can cause us to start fasting immediately. Mishna Gimel. So if you have a particular town where the rains did not fall, so it fell in one place, as it says in the pasuk of Amos, so this is one of the things that the Navi Amos mentions, is a situation where the rain falls in some places, not in others. This is an expression of divine displeasure against a particular place. That particular city, they must fast and blow the shofar. But the surrounding towns who haven't been affected nonetheless must daven on their behalf. They must fast on their behalf, although they don't blow shofar. He says, they blow the shofar, but they don't need to fast. Okay, and in a similar vein is Mishna Dalet. If you have a town that has a plague or some buildings collapsed, that particular town, they must fast and blow shofar. And the surrounding towns fast but don't blow the shofar. And once again, Rabbi Akiva comes with the same disagreement and says, Mesrios v'lo misanos. They blow the shofar, but they don't fast. So now, what's the definition of a dever, of a plague? So first of all, you can only take statistics from a town that's big enough to have 500 soldiers, right? Aside from the rest of the residents. So if they've got 500 able-bodied men who could serve as soldiers, then we're in the parsha of being able to call something a dever. Okay. And 3 people died within that city on 3 consecutive days. Right? So one person one day, one person the next day, one person the next day. So what we've established here is consistency, that there's somebody dying every day, and that it's sufficient numbers, and that you've got 3 people, which is kind of chazak-ish. Okay, that's called the plague, and the people must immediately start fasting and blowing shofar. We can, however, if it's less than this, it's not called a dever. That means if it's less than 3 people, or if it's less than 3 days, which means that if you have 3 people dying on 1 day or in 2 days, that's also not called a dever, because that could be just a close, a little spike of something happening somewhere. But when you've got people dying 1 day after the other, this sets a precedent that the residents need to be concerned for. And the following things are so bad that even if they happen somewhere else, the whole country needs to start blowing shofar and doing teshuva on their behalf. Why? What is it? Shidafon. Shidafon is
a wind blast, windstorm.
Thank you, windstorm. Yeah. Right. So you have a sharav. that comes and starts destroying the crops. Okay, ala yerakon, or on a crop disease, which makes the plants start to go yellow and start to wilt. Okay, but ala arbe, or on locusts, or chasil, which is also kind of I'm not sure what the difference is between arbe and chasil. As far as I'm aware, they're two different species of locusts.
For numerous locusts, numerous locusts, and for finishing locusts. I guess there are just a lot of locusts annoying people, and the next one finish off the crops, probably.
Chasil is a finishing locust. That's an interesting translation. Do you have a footnote that says anything about the difference between arbe and chasil?
Right. It's because it's derived from a root, rava, to multiply. It's the most numerous of the locust family, and chasil derived from the root chasil, to finish or destroy, completely devours vegetation.
Okay. Al chayra, or wild beasts. So al hacherev, or marauding soldiers. Right? Why? Masriyan aleha, we start blowing shofar because of this. Mipnei shehi makam mahaleches, because this is a moving plague.
Right.
It'll travel from one place to another, and it's a danger to all of Israel.
It's interesting that a couple of these plagues are the same ones that hit Mitzrayim.
Yes.
That, the wild beasts, the locusts, and all that.
Yeah, wild beasts and locusts, and yeah. Okay. Rosh Hashanah Daled Hay.
Okay. Over here. Okay, here we go. Dalet Hay. This is the order of the blessings. He recites the blessing called patriarchs, the blessing called powers, the blessing called holiness of the name, and includes the kingship verses with them. But the person designated to blow does not blow the shofar. He recites the blessing of the holiness of the day and blows, remembrance and blows, shofars and blows. Then he recites the blessing of the sacrificial service, the blessing of thanksgiving, the blessing of the Kohanim. These are the words of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Said Rabbi Akiva to him, if he does not blow the shofar at the blessing of kingship, why does he mention it? Rather, he recites the blessing of the patriarchs, powers, and holiness of the name, and then he includes kingship with the blessings of the holiness of the day, and blows, remembrance, and blows, shofaras, and blows. And then he recites the blessing of the sacrificial service, the blessing of thanksgiving, and the blessing of the Kohanim. Can I skip? No, okay.
No, one more.
Yeah, right. They recite no fewer than the kingship verses,
Then 10.
Then remembrance verses, and then 10 shofar verses. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says if he recited 3 verses from each of them, he has discharged his obligation. They should not recite any verse of remembrance, kingship, or shofar which alludes to punishment. Okay, one more. He begins with verses from the Torah and concludes with verses of the patriarchs, and concludes with verses from the prophets. Rabbi Yossi says if he concluded with verses from the Torah, he has discharged his obligation. Okay, one more?
Yeah.
He also leads the services on Yom Tov or Rosh Hashanah. The second chazan causes the shofar to be blown, but when Hallel is said, the first chazan recites the whole Hallel. Okay.
Okay, Sukkah Daled Av.
Let's see something. Wait a second. What? Okay, so we're gonna move on to a different topic after this Rosh Hashanah. A different Mishnah.
Rosh Hashanah moves on to Taanis.
I'm sorry.
Taanis.
To Taanis. We go back. Oh, so okay. All right. Sukkah. Sukkah Daled Aleph. Lulav and Arava lasted for 6 or 7. Hallel and rejoicing are 8. Sukkah and the water libation for 7, and the flute 5 or 6. How is a lulav 7? If the first day of the festival fell on Shabbat, the lulav was 7. Any of the remaining 6 days. How is it Arava 7? If the seventh day of the Arava fell on Shabbos, the Arava is 7. If any of the remaining days, 6.
That's it. Short
Yeah.
nice there in Sukkah. Erevin, Zion test.
Okay, test. Rabbi Yossi said, to what do these words apply? To the installation of the Erev, but for the remembrance of the Erev, any amount. Do they only?
The Erev, that would be.
Excuse me?
It would be the beginning of the Erev, the initiation, maybe.
Okay. Any amount, but for they only required an Erev in courtyards, not to let the children forget. Any food may be used to make an Erev on a shiftuf, except water or salt. These are the words of
By the way, just to be clear, when we're talking about for an Erev, we're talking about an Erev to Chumin here.
Right,
an Erev, because an Erev Chatzeros has to do with bread.
Right.
So this is talking about the shituf or the Erev to Chumin that you can use any food.
These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua says, a loaf is an Erev. Even if baked from a sa'ah, but it is broken, it may not be used for an Erev. A loaf worth an isso, but which was whole, may be used for an Erev. A person may give ma'at to a grocer or to a baker in order that he gives possession in an Erev. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. But the Chachamim say his money does not affect possession. But they occur that in regard to other people, his money gives him possession. But we cannot make an Erev for a person except with his consent. Rabbi Yehuda said, to what do these words apply? To Erev Tachumim. But in regard to Erev Chatzeros, we may make an Erev with his consent or without his consent, so we may benefit a person in his absence. But we may not disadvantage a person except in his presence.
Right. So the difference, the big difference between Erev Chatzeros and Erev Tachumim is that Erev Chatzeros is a total when you lose absolutely nothing by having Erev Chatzeros, because now it just means that you can carry in more places. But an Erev Tachumim has a gain and a loss, because whatever you gain on the east, you lose on the west.
Right. Okay. Demai, Dalid. If one enters a city and knows no one there, and he said, who is trustworthy here and who separates the tithes here? A person said to him, I. He is not to be believed. If he said to him, so-and-so is trustworthy, he may be believed. If he went to buy food from him and said to him, who sells here old? He said to him, the one who sent you to me.
Though they may wine, say yain yashan.
Though they may appear to be exchanging favors, they may be believed. Okay?
Even though it seems like they're doing each other a favor, there was no guarantee that there was going to be any kind of favor over here.
Right.
There are other cases of Gomlin where we do suspect that they're sort of tricking everyone and one deprecates himself and says, no, buy from my friend rather.
Right. If donkey drivers into the city and said, mine is new, but my friend's is old, mine is not tithe, but my friend's is tithe, they are not believed. Rabbi Yehuda says they are believed.
Right. So that's exactly the case over here of the Gomlin, where the two guys are coming together, and the one says, no, mine is not tithe, but his is. Then we start thinking, okay, this might just be two guys who are in league with each other.
Right. All right. Sorry.
You know, there's that famous joke of the Jewish beggar in Rome. You know that?
No.
So it's with there's this Jewish beggar sitting on the steps of the Vatican. And he's sitting there like asking for, obviously Jewish, and he's sitting there asking for money. And next to him is this priest who's holding the collection, who's holding a big golden collection box and whatever. And all the the pilgrims are coming and looking at this Jew and sneering at him and putting these huge donations very visibly in the priest's box. And the Jewish tourist comes past and he sees this Jew sitting here and he thinks, oh, this is such a shame. Like he comes and like pulls out a nice donation, gives it to the Jew, and says to the Jew, listen, what are you doing here? This is embarrassing. Like you're sitting here and people are making a chilul Hashem, and like it's like they're all giving them these fat donations to the priest over here, and you're sitting here just getting these little coins, and it's an embarrassment. And the Jew looks at him and looks up at the priest and says, "You hear that, Chaimi? He's telling us how to run our business."
I saw it coming. I know. It's cute. I had one time at the hotel. I gave a woman some tzedakah, And as I was walking away, some man says, she could really use some more. I said, how do you know? He says, well, I'm a husband. It was really, okay, all right, Good story. Oh man. If one buys from a baker, how does he tithe? He takes a quantity sufficient for Truma Meiser and Chala and says 1/100th of this on this side is Meiser and the rest of the Meiser adjoins it. That which I rendered Meiser is rendered Truma Meiser and on it, and the rest is Chala. And Meiser shady in the north or south of it, and it is redeemed with money.
Okay. Boom.
Bum, 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 bum.
Elim, hey.
Regarding a chicken that is swallowed by a sheretz.
No, it's not swallowed by a sheretz.
When I said that, I said to myself, no, that's wrong. The sheretz did not swallow the chicken. I said that regarding a chicken that swallowed a sheretz and then fell into the airspace of an oven, the oven is tahor, but the chicken died.
But if the chicken died,
the oven is tameh. If a sheretz was found
this is a really significant point over here, is that the live chicken insulates against the sheretz. The dead chicken does not. Now, why does it have to be a sheretz? I mean, if you've got a dead chicken, why is that not metame? Why is that not metame the oven by itself without the sheretz involved?
Right. So why?
Because a nevela of a bird is only metame b'beis hablia when you swallow it.
Right.
It's not metame b'maga. It's not metame b.
We read that. We had that in the Mishna, right? Yeah, to just swallow. Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay. If a sheretz was found in an oven, the bread that is in the oven becomes a sheni tuma. So the oven is a starting level of tuma. Regarding a leaven container that is surrounded by a sealed cover and is placed in an oven, if leaven and a sheretz are in it and the dividing wall is between them, the oven is tameh, but the leaven is tahor. And if there was an olive vine piece from a corpse, the oven and everything in the house are tameh, but the leaven is tahor. But if there is an opening in one tefach, everything is tameh. Regarding a sheretz that is found in the eye of an oven, or in the eye of a stove, or in the eye of a kupak, from the inner edge and outward, the oven is tahor. And if it was in the air, even if an olive vine of a corpse was in the eye, the oven is the eye of the oven, is tahor. If there is an opening of a tefach in the eye, everything is tameh.
Okay. Basra.
We have Basra. Okay. I have Vav Zion. If someone had a public thoroughfare passing through his field, and he appropriated it and gave them another one on the side, what is given, but his does not become his. A private path is 4 amet wide, a public thoroughfare is 16 amet wide, and a king's thoroughfare has no limit, and the path to a grave has no limit. A halting place, the judges of Sipporah said, an area of 4 chaps. If one sells a place to another to make a catacomb for him on it, and similarly, if one accepts a contract from another to give a catacomb for him, he makes the inside of the crypt 4 by 6 amas, and he opens 8 recesses into it, 3 on each side and 2 on the opposite side. The recesses must be 4 amet long, 7 tefachim high, and on each side. Reb Shimon says 4, 1 on each of his 4 sides. Reb Shimon Gamil says all according to the nature of the rock. If one said to another, I am selling you a bakor of earth, and it contained crevices 10 tefachim deep.
No, hold on. You skipped something there. This is a Mishna.
I skipped the page. No, did I?
Yeah.
I'm missing something.
There's a lot more to it. Did you say?
You're right. I'm sorry. I skipped that whole spot. All right, let me go back here. The opposite recesses must be 4 amas long, 7 tefachim high, and 6 tefachim wide. Reb Shimon says he makes the inside of the crypt 6 amas by 8 and opens 13 recesses into it, 4 on each side, 3 on the opposite side, 1 to the right of the entrance, and 1 to the left. He makes a courtyard as the entrance to the crypt, 6 by 6, sufficient space for the bier and those who bury it. He opens 2 crypts into it, 1 on each side, and Reb Shimon says 4, 1 on each of its 4 sides, and Reb Shimon Gamil says all according to the nature of the rock. Okay. if I missed the page, no. Okay, if one said to another, I am selling you a base core of earth and it contained crevices 10 tefachim deep or rocks 10 tefachim high, they are not measured with it. If they were less than this, they are measured with it. If he said to him, I am selling you a base core of earth, even if it contained crevices deeper than 10 tefachim or rocks higher than 10 tefachim, they are measured with it. Okay.
Right. Oh, it's so interesting, this little cultural window into the past. When you see like how burial caves, I mean, the concept of a burial cave is like so weird to us. You know, when people die, you take them to a cemetery, you bury them there. This is like a big thing. Like a burial cave is something that you have for your family.
Right.
And you can see from the various Mishnayos around, like what they used to do. They would first bury somebody, let their body decompose, and then they dig them up and take their bones and put them into the burial cave, because you can't put, how many bodies can you fit into a burial cave as well? You can see what a standard burial cave is. It's got like 8 spaces in it, or however many spaces you know, machlok is Taanis as to how many spaces, but you're not talking about an entire clan. Are you going to get the entire clan into one burial cave? You have to put all these bones in there.
It's kind of weird because it just like you never should disturb a mace, and you should, you know, all this kind of stuff. And here we are, we're picking up.
But this is part of the covenant of mace. Is that the mace wants to be buried with his ancestors. He wants to be, you know, buried in the same with the same family. And it's interesting. It's really interesting that you know, I wonder where the change took place, why it took place.
Because nobody ever tried. I mean, they wouldn't dare to try, but nobody did anything with the Abbas or the Amos. Nobody did anything with that. They just left it what it was.
Yeah, very interesting.
I don't like to think about it.